Howdy, and we're back with video 3 of risk assessment or risk management. As I mentioned before, I was a little disappointed this spring when I started talking about the SEI and Software Engineering Institute at CMU, and students hadn't heard about it. If you're in software, you need to be familiar with this. Again, they have a model. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. It's the same kind of thing, but I always go by NIST. From a legal standpoint, from a technical standpoint, great. SEI, it's good to know. Look for risk before they become problems. Yeah, that's a good one. Analyze, plan, all good stuff. However, you want to document that you are compliant with the NIST standards. So this is basically, I think, a good approach, and I can map it into NIST. So let's just stick with NIST when you take my risk assessment class. Now, here it is, the NIST models. They're all based on risk management framework, the RMF. There's going to be 3 documents it talks about. You always want to start with SP 800-53. It's currently in release form of revision 4. However, revision 5 is in draft form. If you're doing anything, go with 5. It'll be in final form. NIST has this read, review, put it out for public content cycle, so it's still in the public content. The big sea change between 4 and 5 is it is now more emphasizing privacy. So you want to do SP 800-53 revision 5, and you want to look at 39, 37, and 30. 39 is managing information security risk, lays out a plan. I'm not going to go through this, but I will tell you it's either this one or I believe it's this one or 37. One of them, if you go to Appendix L, tells you step by step what to do. You should take some time and familiarize yourself with these documents. We will in our risk assessment, risk management class in the fall. However, I urge you to do that. And if you want to get smart fast, go look at this Appendix L. I always tell people that when they go to a job and the boss tells you to do something, you don't say, no, I don't know how to do that. You say, okay, let me think about that and get back to you. And the first thing you do is you go find the documents. It's all laid out, cookbook fashion. It tells you what to do, okay? You're not being deceptive. You're being creative and motivated, okay? But 39, 37, 53, 30, they all go together. They talk about framing the risk, monitoring the risk, responding to the risk. I'm not going to go through this too much detail other than to understand that you do talk about an executive type function, a mission and business process layer, and then an information system layer. So you do talk about, look, you've got to have higher arching business goals if you think about it. And then you have the business process layer type thing. And then you have the actual implementation. So like I said, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm leaving these slides in here. They're very readable. Nothing should make you fall off your chair with, brilliance when it says complexity of risk management generally increases with the size of the project, program, or business. Absolutely. So what do? We break it down. We use a systematic approach. We look at it both at the granular and the overarching levels. I've done this for years. Sometimes it's grunt and grind. When I was at University of Houston graduate program, we would sit for 3 hours and we would work through the details on this. And I had an interesting student in the class who's now at NSA. And one day after class, he said, this was boring, this was dull, this was repetitive. Oh my gosh. And he goes, but I don't know how else you would teach it. And one of the reasons he got his job at NSA was that he could talk risk. Okay? So yeah, it's not all rocket science. It does require some deep thinking, some analytical skills, but a lot of it is grunt and grind. Do what the process tells you to do. Don't skip steps thinking they're not important. Okay, off my soapbox. So we talk about qualitatively, expert judgment, experience. I used to do, back in the 90s, do expert systems, and I always loved it when you would go and try to capture knowledge of experts, and the experts would radically disagree on how they came to their conclusions. So when I say it allows expert judgment, I always kind of roll my eyes saying, yes, it does. But don't be surprised if one person tells you something who is an expert that's completely opposite of what another expert tells you. It's based on our viewpoints. It's based on our experience. Things changed, right? After 9/11, things radically changed how people saw risk. We didn't think about people, committing suicide and taking others with them by flying into buildings, right? I grew up, in the 70s and stuff when the hijackings occurred and planes were hijacked in the Middle East. And yes, sometimes people were killed or planes were hijacked to Cuba. You just sat in your seat, you ended up where you went, spent some time, 99% of people got returned, right? The risk radically changed. So we want to talk about impact and probability. Let me just tell you this. If you have a highly critical system, no matter if you say there's a low probability of this happening, if it is highly critical, IP, intellectual property, critical infrastructure, in today's world, you treat it as a high probability of an attack. You pull out all stops if it is high criticality, right? You can talk about what the impact would be, but you do everything you can to protect it. And these are all levels of analysis and the like. We don't need to worry about this because you're all going to take my risk assessment class. But, this is all the probability and all this. I do like that NIST talks about high, medium, low. That's it. I'm not going to say, like I said, 23.5, 39.6, 40, 44. If it's 44 point or 49.9, do we do this? It's not 50%. No. Is it low criticality? Is it hot, medium, or moderate criticality? Is it high criticality? I've used the example before. There's certain information Texas A&M puts out on their website. It's low critical data. Hey, here's stuff you need to know about A&M. There's certain stuff like class schedules and things like that. You have to be a student. That's medium. Then there's that high criticality. I can't get access to your GPA. I can't get access to your financial records. I can't get access to your health records. I can't get access to that, and I should not have access. The only thing I can have access to is my class and my grades. You may not know this, but not even the department head can see my grades when I give grades. There's this very secure system. Why? Because this is high criticality. It is of such vital importance to our students that we serve that we have put in high protection. Go back to the days when I was in college and they used to put your name and your test score or your name and your semester grade on the faculty member's door, okay? So we talk about quantitative, figuring out how we collect data, collect historical data. I made this analogy, I think, before. There's a reason why your windshield is nice and big to see in your car out front and the rearview mirror is small. When we're based on historical data, we may not be able to capture a sea change event like 9/11 or like Stuxnet or like Hurricane Harvey, right? Something radically changed that broke our systems down. So again, key assumptions, you can collect all the data, but it's only going to be good your data. Adding objectively to the qualitative assessment. Again, you're going to calculate a value. I'm not going to go through the mathematics. I'd love to. I don't see the purpose. All right. The assessment, right? How we're going to do it. These slides I'm keeping in, as I said, for historical reason. Wow, that's going to be a short video. So good. We're through with video 3, on to video 4.